Hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Alen.
and welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Hey listeners, it's Mark, and excited to welcome you to 2020. New year, new decade, and my partner in crime is with me, Alen Auguste. Good to put eyes on you again, my friend.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, so a new decade.
Wow. Another year older.
Another year older, yes.
Another decade older.
Another decade older, yes.
I guess that'll be the gloom and doom look. But it is exciting, man. It's 2020.
It is 2020.
New perspective.
That's right. There's so many things that we could do with this.
Yeah, man.
It didn't dawn on me until not too long ago that this really is a new decade. I heard somebody else say it. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're right. This is a new decade.
And, we don't necessarily have the George Jetson cars rolling around or the jetpacks. We haven't been able to transport ourselves like by teleportation yet. At least,
Not yet.
Not that I've been aware of.
Not yet.
Or like create food in some kind of thing that looks like a microwave, but just
Star Trek replicator.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
The replicator. But it's still pretty cool. It's a good time to be alive, man.
It is a good time to be alive. Yeah. You know, on that note, sort of a sad note, I did want to pass along to our listeners that one of our guests back in the summertime, Jay Cookingham, I know, Alen, you'll remember his story. Pretty incredible, powerful story. It was a fantastic conversation we had with him. His wife passed away after a multi-year battle of cancer back prior to the holidays. And so as you're thinking about Jay and his kids and his family, would you just pray that that God's grace will be with them as they journey on and continue life without his wife, Christine? They had a really sweet marriage and sweet relationship, and I know it's going to be hard. And so anyway, just passing that along for those that heard that interview. If you didn't, you want to go back and listen to it. It's fantastic. The guest, again, his name is Jay Cookingham. But if you would, as you think about it and as you feel led, just pray that God's presence will continue to journey strongly with him as they continue life without her.
Yeah.
Okay. So, through the month of November and December, we were soliciting some feedback from listeners, and we got some good feedback about how to improve the show, make it better, keep growing, provide better content, all of that. And the topic that we're going to get into today is a listener-suggested topic, or at least an angle. And I think it dovetails well this entrance into a new year and a new decade. So what we're gonna talk about today is the importance of a brand new word that I made up, which is husbandship. Do you like that word?
Sounds medieval.
Okay, I wasn't going for medieval. I was certainly going for creative, and probably someone has used this word before. However, I'm just gonna play with it. So, the importance of improving your husbandship, and I often start with things like this or other things that I'm doing. I start with a question of why. Like why is it important? Why does it matter that we are constantly improving our husbandship? I'll try not to overuse that word today. But why does it matter? Why is it important that we are being a good husband? And I've got some thoughts that I'll pull out, okay. But I'll offer you a shot to go first if you want to take a shot at it.
I guess, this could be just more simple outside my head than it is in. But first, I guess, before your why, I guess the question is what is husbandship? Like, what are we talking about?
Okay.
Well,
I can define it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just very simply, it is engaging as a husband with your wife. and with the mother of your kids.
Huh. Interesting. All right. Maybe, yeah, I could see that. And then doing, yeah, because I think that, and I think like doing life together with your wife, like there's this idea that you two are one, and you're not separated, even by physical separation. You're not necessarily separated from each other. You're doing this together.
Yeah.
And such. So you don't, it's like making decisions on your own and whatnot. It's like, no, we like, me and my wife, we do it. We're trying to do this thing together. We're trying to live this thing together. And so I can see all that you were saying and more. Why? Yeah, Mark, let's hear it.
Well, I'll start with one. The first one that came to mind as I was thinking about why. Why does it matter? Why should we be about improving our skills, how we show up as a husband? And the first idea that came to mind is we're teaching our boys what it looks like to love a woman. And we're teaching our girls. I know we focus mostly on sons here and men, but we're teaching our girls what it looks like, what it feels like to be loved by a man. In an authentic and in a true way, not in a warped and distorted and abusive way. Along that whole spectrum of abuse, we have the opportunity to teach our boys how and to teach our girls what, so that as they move into that adult space and begin to pursue relationships, they know how. They know what to look for. They know how to do it because we've showed them what it looks like at home.
Yeah, it's definitely that's interesting. It's almost like whether we're trying to give a representation of what that looks like that is healthy or unhealthy. It's still caught.
Yeah.
Like by what is seen and what is experienced through our love and engagement of our wives. And that's pretty cool. I would go along the same lines. I'd say, I don't know. I think one of the greatest ways to show, let's just use the word love.
Okay.
I think one of the greatest ways to teach, like what you're saying, what love looks like, is within that like marriage bond, like this idea that two people have decided to walk together, and even when things are great, to even when things are stressful and challenging and hard and emotionally cringing, like two people are still considering each other and honoring each other and lifting each other up. Like what a different picture than what you see normally in the world around us.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to play the doom and gloom game in a sense that everything is bad. Like, that's not it. I'm just saying what we mostly see, like, out in the world around us, from media to physical, like, right in front of our faces, can sometimes seem negative a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, but there are these beautiful moments and these awesome experiences that are good and healthy that is happening around us. And I think people want that. And I think people long for that in their lives. And one way to show that, at least in our household, is from the picture and experience that our kids get from looking at us husbands and our wives. Mm-hmm. Like when we as spouses connect and we build and we toil, we teach them how to love even when storms are raging. We teach them how to love when the sun is shining. We teach them how to love when the chips are down, or teach them how to love when things are flying high. We teach them how to love when one of us is having a bad day, and the other one just happens to be having a bad day too. We teach them how to love in sickness. We teach them how to love when we disagree. Like, what a great way to show how love like trumps all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That within our homes, when they see us as husband and wives really doing that well with each other, and as we as husbands, all right, like you said, Mark, the show is really aimed at fathers and sons, and so let's talk to us fathers, let's talk to us husbands. When we as husbands really take that and we walk that out every day, and our kids follow us. When we turn around and they turn around, they can see a beautiful path.
Yeah.
Of how to do this, and the future looks bright.
Yeah.
You know?
What I hear you saying, and totally agree, is that true love transcends circumstance, it transcends feeling, it transcends conditions, and it gets to that decision. The decision of the will. I am choosing to love. It's a verb, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just a feeling. I hate the English language here because we have one word, and we can describe our the pleasure from dining on hot dogs and pizza with that word, to the commitment of our lifelong partner. And it's all the same word, but it's such an insufficient word to really get to what you're talking about, which is the decision, an act of the will to show up in a way that communicates your commitment, your covenant, your willingness to stay engaged in that relationship, regardless of circumstances.
Yeah.
And I'm not implying that circumstances are always bad. You know, like you were saying, sometimes circumstances are great and it's easy, but it's in those more difficult times where the true love emerges, right? That commitment to, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, whatever the vows were, the commitment to stay in this thing and to make it a priority and make it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that as kind of a foundation of why, and I you do this to me all the time, and I love it. You zoomed out and took a bigger picture of love, which is great. It's fantastic. I love it. There we use the word.
Yeah.
I'm fond of it. With that as the foundation for why this matters, let's talk for a few minutes on how, right? So we could have some guys out there that are like, okay, I hear you, Mark, but you're not in my situation, or the wife and I are too busy, we don't have time for each other, or things are tense right now, so on and so forth, or we're just newly married and we don't know. Like we could have all kinds of scenarios out there.
Sure.
Let's spend a few minutes talking about just some simple things on how to improve in this thing that we're calling husbandship as we roll into the next year.
I think one thing is being. I think showing up and just be.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so one way to like really say like I'm here for you is to actually be there and to show up. Presence is big.
Okay.
Take that in anything. In youth ministry, I used to tell our leaders, like, you want to tell kids that you love them, show up when our doors are open. Like, be here early. Just be here. And show them that you are a stable piece, like, in their lives. They can count on your presence.
Yeah.
Like, every time we have service, or we have a small group, or we go do something, your face, they know they can count on it. And if that was from something that I saw in my life, like I saw that that those who were continually there, they had presence in my life. Those are people that I see love, like love coming from continually.
Yeah.
You know? And so I took that into my marriage. Like, I want to be, and I want to show up. Not necessarily having to do anything or say anything. We can get to that later, because those are some other things. But just the presence of you just showing up and being. So being at home when you need to be at home. Being a presence in the quiet times and in the roughhousing, crazy, wild times of life. You know, showing up is important. And when you show up and you're being, kids can see, at least, I don't know, my kids have said that they see my presence with my wife and they go, wow, Dad loves Mom.
Yeah.
You know, he's there for Mom. Like, there are times where, you know, I tell them a story all the time. I say, I remember one year we drove from Ohio to Massachusetts in complete silence. And like, it just happened to be that way. We were quiet.
That's a long drive.
I know.
In silence.
I know, right? But like, I mean, and when I say that, I mean, there was some, but it was listening to the radio. I had this beat up old Samurai Suzuki with a top down, you know, radio blasting, and we're just holding hands driving, like long periods of that.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to say anything. You know, I look back on a trip and I go, wow, what an amazing trip, you know? And what blew me away was that we were just there. Like, we knew each other was there in that car. Didn't have to say anything, didn't have to do anything. Just having each other's presence was really cool and showing that I love you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm right here next to you.
Yeah.
In this long car drive.
Yeah.
But I'm right next to you.
Yeah.
And her presence said the same thing back to me, you know? And I tell them that story, and like, they get all like, you know, they get older now. They're like, oh, okay, Dad, you said that story 25 million times, but they get the point though. Like, the idea is that you're here, you know? And so we show up and we be. That's what I mean by being.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Another one that comes to my mind is, it's similar to that, but it involves more doing it. It's the communicating, you know, and you can communicate just by physical touch or just by your physical presence, right? You're communicating, but there's an important part of communication that comes from words too. And generally speaking, guys are a little stingier with words and with sharing feelings than girls. And, you know, generally speaking, it's just kind of how we're wired as a gender, number one. But number two, we often play the role of, well, I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm going to keep it inside. I don't want to share what I'm feeling. I don't really want to talk about it. Whether that's this expectation that I should be able to handle it on my own, or I don't want to look weak, or I don't want her to know because I've got to be the rock. Like, whatever the reasoning is, if you don't let anybody in, then it just becomes this. Well, it's hard to be in relationship with you when you're holding back.
Yeah.
Number one. And number two, if you're carrying all this stuff on the inside all by yourself, it's just a lonely way to go.
Yeah.
And we've been given these partners in life so that we don't have to be alone, so that we can be intimate and in relationship with them and together. But sometimes, guys, it's going to take you to take a step and to initiate communication, to share something beyond just the itinerary for the day, or the things that were done. I remember back in college, back in the 1900s for us, we didn't, Kristen and I were dating at the time, but we didn't have ready means to communication. So we did old school letters.
Oh, wow.
And if you were to compare her letters to mine, you would just see a huge difference. Mine were Here were the details of the last couple of days, the things that I did.
Yeah.
And hers were not just details, but here's how I'm feeling, and these were the things that I was thinking about, and like I was giving her my calendar, and she was telling me how she really feels, right? And that's I think that's symptomatic a little bit of guys and girls. But my challenge is to you guys listening. How can you improve your communication? Mm-hmm. How can you take some initiative? How can you invite her to share? And how can you guys have heard me talk about this before, how can you be a better listener? Yeah. How can you be present, set aside everything that's going on in your mind, and even some of your inclination to want to fix it or solve it or just get right to the punchline and just listen.
Yeah.
Listening can go a long way, and it is part of communication. Anyway, open and often is my recommendation around communication.
Yeah, man. I like the idea of communicating how you're feeling. I think that's a big one that's hard to do and to say. Like,
it is hard.
How are you being affected by what is happening? And that's pretty cool that she was doing that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think if we as husbands would communicate what's going on in our hearts and minds, not just the act, but the effect of it on us, that can probably like fling open the doors of communication really well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, that would explain your face looking
right.
like you're brooding.
Right.
You're not angry with me. I thought you were. I mean, you like gave me some angry look because of the way the rice fell on the plate, or when you walked in the door, you were brooding, and I thought it was because what I was doing at the time. So you're not upset with me. Thank you for communicating that.
Yeah.
That could settle a lot of things.
Yeah. I was talking with a guy just yesterday who I had encouraged to have a conversation with his wife about a certain topic that was kind of pressing on him, but he was a little reluctant, wasn't quite sure how it would go, and thought she would react or was feeling a certain way. So they had the conversation, and he's telling me about it. He's like, Mark, what she said to me, I never would have guessed. It was so completely different than what I thought. It was so much more giving me the benefit of the doubt or well-intended than I thought it might be, and never would have discovered that had I not initiated the conversation. Now, that's just one anecdotal example, right? But if you don't talk about it, you're left to fill in the gaps, right? The story is incomplete, and you're left to try to fill in what's going on.
Yeah.
And why not just have the conversation?
Mm-hmm. That's good, man. One that I was thinking of, man, I think we could be better husbands if we would watch and cut out the shaming of our wives. Mm. Like I think that'd be good. Like so I mean, again, like what is taught is more caught through like what our kids are seeing, and how they're experiencing us and our spouses, our wives, like living life together, doing this thing as one. And one thing, I'm not saying that our wives don't shame us. I'm saying how we as husbands can sometimes shame our wives, or a lot of times shame our wives. I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but this idea that like we can make our wives feel less than by what we say, by a joke, by a slander, like we slander like them and make them feel less than by a comment that is meant to like on the outside look like it's supposed to help, but on the inside, it's really an arrow,
Yeah.
like shot at our wives.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I don't want to go through a whole bunch of experiences, or scenarios and whatnot, but like that's caught with our kids, and they do that. They will do that, like not only with their future spouses, but they'll learn to do that with other people, and they'll learn to accept that.
And maybe even with mom herself.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, like and so like one thing I'm watching is like, you know, I say I love my wife and I'm going, well, what do I mean by that? I'm saying like I want to honor you and I want to delight in you.
Yeah.
And so one way that I've like tried to stop shaming my wife and look for it and cut it out is by shielding her weaknesses. Like even with my kids, like, you know, if I know my wife isn't strong in this area and my kids see that, I'll build up that area. Like I'll lift that up. Yeah, you know, she may not be the greatest at this, but man, when it comes to this part right here,
Yeah.
my wife's the bomb.
Yeah.
Like your mom can do this. You know what I mean? Or I'll throw up other things. Yeah, you know. Yeah, not maybe not the greatest in that, but I'll tell you what, she can do this, she can do that. Her heart is huge for people.
Yeah.
She loves you like way better, and teaches me how to love better all the time. And you know, I mean, from the littlest things to like, oh, you want someone to get up early in the morning with you? Like, that's your mom. Like, she is an awesome morning person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or have you asked your mom about that yet? You know, I want to lift her up and build her up.
Yeah.
And what I'm noticing is that I'm catching myself. I'm catching thoughts that if I let them fly out would shame my wife. And I go, no, that's not honor and delight. I'm not going to do that to her. Or and even more importantly for this podcast, I'm not gonna let that out because I don't want my kids to pick that up.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to start shaming
Yeah.
their mom. I don't want them to start shaming the people around them. I don't want them to pick that up and save that later for a rainy day for when they get married. You know what I mean?
I do. It's interesting. I had something very similar, and my wording was celebrate her publicly. Mm-hmm. You know, take those moments to be like, you rock, because boom, 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 in front of friends, in front of family, in front of kids. Just really celebrate, build, lift her up, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? And watching those moments where we think we're being funny, or we think we're goofing around, or it might work with our best guy buddy, but it doesn't work so good with the wife. Just find ways to celebrate her. I think that goes a long way.
And you know, and guys, we know those things.
Yep.
Like not everyone is the same. Everyone is different, but because we're living with our wives and have been building this relationship, we know each other in and out. And so for you who are listening, and me and Mark, you know, I would say, like, pay attention to those moments where it's a fraction of a second, like, wince from our wives by what we say and what we do. It's the look that comes across her face. It's the body language. It's the reaction of, you just hurt me.
Yeah.
And go, you know what? I'm going to turn this around. And yeah, Mark, I was saying, cut it out. But I love what you're saying too. I would say, let's turn this into a moment of celebration. How can I celebrate you right now?
Yeah.
Versus shame you.
Yep.
And our kids will love that. Kids will pick that up.
It goes a long way.
We'll be better husbands.
Yeah. I agree. Well, obviously this is a huge topic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we're just kind of scratching the surface. But as we roll into 2020, new year, new decade, may the challenge be to you dads and you husbands listening, how can you be better? How can you be a better husband? How can you improve your husbandship? What would that look like for you? And as you're reflecting on the conversation and thinking about some specifics, maybe something we said, maybe something that just popped into your mind, maybe it's something you need to go apologize for and start there. I don't know, but the challenge is, what can you do better, and how can you improve your husbandship in the new year? And I guarantee you, your relationship will be better for it. Your kids will be better off for it. Back to the why, right?
Yeah,
Showing love, showing those around you what love looks like and how to love better. It's a good thing.
Agreed. And when that why is known, it makes it a lot not easier, but there's more stability in doing.
Yeah.
When you know your why. So know your why.
Yeah. It's good. All right, man. Well, welcome to 2020.
Welcome.
We're off and running. And until next time, listeners, thanks for journeying with us. And we'll catch you next time. Adios. Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.